The best Russian paintings. We will begin by looking at this 1876 painting by Ilya Repin. In Slavic mythology, there is a character called Sadko who plays the gusli for the sea tsar. It's a Russian string instrument, and this guy Sadko plays it, and there is some kind of conflict between Sadko and the sea tsar. So it's some kind of Slavic mythology kind of stuff. Kind of like the Flying Carpet, 1880 Vasnetsov. This is a very powerful painting. Three owls or something there flying in the magic carpet there. Good stuff. And back to Ilya again, Ilya Repin. This was painted in... It was actually started in 1880 and he finished it 11 years later. So it's a very... it took a very long time, and it's the reply of the Zaporozhian Cossacks. And it's set in 1676, and these guys, they are Cossacks who sent a reply to an ultimatum of the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire, Mehmed IV, writing really bad stuff in there, like yes, fuck your mother or something like that. Okay, so he also painted this, barge haulers on the Volga, 1870 to 1873. Barge haulers, they were called burlaks in Russian, and a burlak, they haul barges upstream, and the word burlak actually originated from the Tatar word bujdak, which means homeless, and these people appeared in Russia in the end of the 16th century, and they were commonplace until the Industrial Revolution took over. So what about the painting? Look at the men. What's the emotional impact when we observe their faces? Fatigue. These men are so exhausted they seem to collapse forward while dragging this barge, hauling it upstream. So what's the artist's intent? Perhaps he wanted to condemn those who sanctioned such hard labor. Let's stick with the marine theme and let me introduce another painter. Ivan Ivazovsky, a marine artist. And this painting is called The Ninth Wave. It was painted in 1850, and the title referred to that waves grow larger and larger up to the largest wave, the ninth wave. After the ninth wave, the series of waves begins again, okay? And this painting depicts a sea after a storm and people facing death after a shipwreckage. Even though it's very terrible, we can see that the colors present a warm tone. The sea doesn't seem that aggressive. Neptune perhaps wants to save their lives. Very powerful, okay? So Boris Kustodiev. This was painted in 1916, and in Russia there is a tradition called Maslenitsa, and so is this painting. This painting is also called Maslenitsa. And Maslenitsa, the tradition is, it's the last week before the Great Fast, or Lent, during which eggs and dairy products are permitted. So it's also called Cheese Fair Week. They are not allowed to eat meat during this week though, so they eat a lot of pancakes and stuff. On Thursday, during Maslenitsa, people might be home from work, take a day off, go sleighing, go sledding, or ice skate, or throw snowballs, stuff like that. So this painting was painted in 1916, while this painting, which also bears the name Maslenitsa, was painted 3 years later in 1919. Same artist. Yes. Okay, so what about this? Yes, this is the last painting I want to show you guys, and it's a great painting by Ivan Shishkin, 1878, Rye Fields. Look at the textures of this painting. It is a very beautiful and powerful painting. If you look carefully at the road, we have two swallows or something flying very close to the ground there. A beautiful painting. Awesome paintings. But what about the political situation in Russia? The annexation of Crimea, the war in Donbass, controversial stuff. We must understand Ukrainian citizens. Let's say Putin would invade your country, wherever you are from, just because there is some Russian minority somewhere. What the hell? I would be pissed off, of course. But on the other hand, how do the Russians in Ukraine feel about this? We should perhaps try to understand all people and listen to their arguments as well before we judge. Western media is biased. Don't listen to mainstream media too much. Listen to alternative stuff as well. But don't become some kind of Nazi or Stalinist extremist or something like that. But just don't trust whatever the mainstream media tells you, okay? Now this badass, of course, he's scary as hell. His goal is to have as much power as possible, and we have to be really careful. We have to be really careful about what's happening here. We must take his threats seriously. We have to respect Russian, but we should not give him too much. I read somewhere, if you give an inmate that is in a prison, if you give an inmate a bubble gum, he will want to be given cigarettes. If you give him cigarettes, he will want to be given a glass of Coca-Cola. If you give him a glass of Coca-Cola, he will take a shit in the glass and throw it right at your face. If you give them what they want, and the same principle applies for Eastern Ukraine and Crimea as for a glass of Coca-Cola, if you give them, or him, what he wants, he will just take more and more and more. We can't expect from the guy to have nice intentions. Now, there is nothing wrong with the Russian people in general. In fact, they are nice people. If you go to the countryside or to a city there, people are nice. And everybody doesn't support Putin. Far from it. There are many people who oppose him, but they are persecuted. People who don't share the mainstream views are persecuted in Russia and in Europe and in the whole frigging world, okay? And another thing which is interesting here is what's happening in Greece. They have some kind of economic crisis there, and while they have that, we have to realize that they have almost the same religion as Russia. You know, they are Orthodox Christians. Will Russia become the best friend of Greece because Germany is doing all these austerity measures stuff? I don't know, but it's good to think about that. So try to understand all the different sides in the conflict, read alternative media, don't trust the mainstream media, don't trust alternative media either. Don't trust Putin. If he comes to your country, make sure he knows when it's time to get the fuck out of there. Treat him with respect, but also like a dog. That is, don't give him too much of the good. You know what I'm saying? Respect the Russian people. They are great people. They are very proud people. Perhaps sometimes a bit too proud, but then again, don't take the common Russian as Putin. Okay, so that's it. Thank you for watching. Comment, subscribe, and please like this video. So long.